Hello all YouTubers, I am the Weather Dude. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning back into this fourth winter forecast for October 12th, 2020. If you guys like staying up to date with the latest weather content, then please consider hitting the subscribe button below this video. The Weather Dude channel has hopped on the racetrack. Let's see how fast we can get to 2,000 subscribers. It's a big goal, but I believe we can get there. Thank you guys so much for the support thus far. Also, please consider dropping a like on this video, as this does help the video's performance very much, and also share the video. This is a winter forecast. Let's see if we can get to 100 likes. And also, please consider watching the whole video. Thank you. Now let's get on with today's video. And again, quick shout out to my good friend Jones RMJ for helping me make that intro. His channel link will be in the pinned comment down below. Now today we have our winter forecast 2020 to 2021 number 4. And yes, we've had some changes. There's definitely been some changes to the ENSO 3.4 region, or the Niña 3.4 region, excuse me. The ENSO forecasts have changed, and therefore my forecast has changed as well. We've had some tweaks made to the maps. Keep in mind that this is, even though it's my 4th winter forecast, hopefully I'm able to do a few more. Just know that it is still early mid-October and a lot of things can still change. All right, so let's get on with my winter forecast. But before I do, I did want to show you guys some maps and everything that is updated. So we have this map, which is basically telling us what do we normally see with a typical La Niña winter. Okay, so those of you that are watching and may not see my other winter forecast, basically La Niña is basically when the jet stream comes across the northern plains in the upper Midwest. So that results in the northern plains usually seeing some colder air. The Northwest is usually seeing some wetter conditions. We may see some wetter conditions as well for the Midwest. And usually the southern, I'd say 30 of the United States, is usually pretty dry. From Southern California down to Oklahoma and Texas over to the southeastern United States, it may be a little bit drier, especially down towards the Gulf Coast. But in the Tennessee Valley, it may be like warmer and wetter, all depending on how that jet stream fluctuates. But usually there is a high that builds off the coast here, which pushes that jet stream up and brings it down over the northern plains. It may bring it down over the Midwest at times, so jet stream does fluctuate during a La Niña pattern. Now, the difference with the ENSO neutral, there's not many changes, but there's definitely some changes to take note of with the ENSO neutral versus La Niña. One is that the jet stream comes down now more over the upper Midwest, and now that includes more of the Northeast, gets in on more of the cold air. Keep in mind, the northern plains is still pretty cold, but more of the focus is shifted to the to the Midwest and Northeast. Also, one thing to make note of is that the southeastern United States is usually warm and wet as opposed to warm and dry. So either way, as you can see, the southern 30 of the United States will probably be warm. It's just deciding either going to be warm and dry or warm and wet. All right, and that's because of that subtropical jet stream coming through the southeast. Southwest, we do have a very weak Pacific jet stream influencing, so that'll keep our precipitation maybe average, or maybe even a bit drier, depending on how that jet stream interacts. At least the Pacific jet stream. Now here's our latest update with the sea surface temperature anomalies for the Niña 3.4 region, and it's a big change from what we saw in the last winter forecast. I can tell you guys that. So one thing is for sure, now we're pretty much in a La Niña at this point. I mean, if you look at all the maps from Tropical Tidbits as well, we've been in it for quite a long time. Right? And most of the models, these ensembles from Bureau of Meteorology from Australia, they predict a moderate to even close to a strong La Niña. Now, when I did actually make a change to my climatological map, so if you think those are the same old boring maps, you're wrong, because I did actually make some changes to them. I changed, when you see my climatological data of how past years went, I did tweak it, and I'll show you guys that in a little bit. But I did change the time frame from December through February to December through March, so we get more of the winter included. And I also added some moderate La Niña years in there, and we'll see how that changes the data. But anyway, moderate to strong La Niña by December, but the question is, how quick could we recover? We're projecting a bounce back up. Maybe February and March, we might crawl back into neutral, and maybe that means the Northeast could get in on some of the heavy winter action. So depends on how quick we get down and how quick the rebound could be. So here are some of the models for this. We're going to do December, January, February. And as you can see, a lot of the models indicate a La Niña. Matter of fact, the mean of all these models, of all 8 of these models, is about 1.6. So that's basically around the moderate La Niña. But as we head towards January, notice how all the models, in case you guys didn't notice, there you go right there. Notice how the models back off towards the right a little bit. All right, that's what we're talking about. Right? And also the mean also went down to about 1.3-ish. All right, Celsius as opposed to 1.6 Celsius below average. So you see some models retreat, and then by February, look at this. A few models actually go back in neutral, and the mean only goes back to a weak La Nina. So it may take till March or even April to recover back to neutral. It all depends on the trends, but this does impact our winter. You'll see that in you'll see that reflection in my my actual winter forecast that I made later on in the video. So looking at the sea surface temperature anomalies from the NOAA here, you can see, especially now, this isn't the Niña 3-4 region. This is more the Niña 1-2 region-ish. Sea surface temperatures there are 3 Celsius plus below average. All right, in the Niña 3-4, it's a bit less, but it's still in the moderate category, I'd say. Right around 1, or actually weak category, but heading towards moderate. About 1 degree plus Celsius below average. But also notice this. Look at all the warm ocean water building off the west coast of the U.S. All right, and notice how there's a cool patch of water just south of Alaska there. That can mean the jet stream can go like this. It could raise up over the western United States and come down again, just like the maps say, could come down over the northern plains, over the east. Because also notice the warm water off the east coast, that could send the jet stream up like this, like a check mark, so to speak, or it could send it up like this. All right, you have to watch the sea surface, because when we have like that weak Mordecai El Nino that we always talk about sometimes in the past couple of years, we basically have a high that builds here and a jet stream that dips over the eastern United States, which is where the east gets a lot of their snowfall, right? Well, it's kind of similar, but except all the warm air is on the west coast, so that could push the jet stream up and then down. It's very complicated as to where that jet stream could potentially come down. That will definitely impact the winter months. So here is the CFS sea surface temperature anomalies, okay? Now, they have, by December, some warm air, kind of like that weak Mordecai El Nino setup, but obviously we're definitely not in an El Nino. And that could push the jet stream up over the northern plains. And then we got some colder air, obviously, in our La Nina region. January, not much has changed at all. And February, not really either. Again, seeing that high pressure, so to speak, build up south of the Gulf of Alaska. We got the La Nina conditions here. Also, warmer waters off the east coast of the United States. And what that does is the warmer waters off the east coast could prohibit, or I should say reduce the chance of snowfall along the shore. So if you live let's say, give me some example, Long Island, maybe the Jersey Shore, maybe Maryland or Delaware shoreline, or Virginia shoreline, right? Inland locations in those states get snowfall a lot, right? But the coastal locations of Virginia, Maryland, New York, Delaware, they may not get as much because of that warmer than average water that could influence how much snow they receive. So that could be a factor as well, and that could also be a factor in maybe pushing the jet stream up over the Midwest or the northern plains. So all these are factors, and by March, really not much has changed either, except now, according to this model forecast, the sea surface temperatures along the west coast go below average. So what does that tell me? That tells me that the jet stream could go up and then back down over the western United States, and maybe the west could get a little cool taste, or at least the northwest, because the northwest in La Nina is typically cooler. All right, so now we're going to get into the climatological maps, and right after that, we should be getting into my winter forecast that I made. So, climatological maps is important that I show you, especially for this video, because these are new and updated. All right, now I'm not saying that they went back and changed the data. I'm just saying that I made a couple tweaks to the maps. In case you guys missed it, one change that I made was I changed the time frame now to go through March instead of February, so December through March. Also, I threw in a few moderate La Nina years in there as well, because I feel like that we have a good chance to go in the moderate this year. So, but first we are looking at, this isn't La Nina, this is actually ENSO neutral precipitation. So ENSO neutral maps really haven't changed all that much either. But typically in an ENSO neutral, because that's one of the possibilities for this year, mid-Atlantic and the southeast are usually pretty cold. And matter of fact, especially the southeast, like 2 to 2.5 Celsius, or I'm sorry, this is precipitation. Sorry. It's wetter in the southeast, usually 2 to 2.5 inches below or above average. I got a little twisted backwards there. Anyway, and we usually see drier conditions, okay, for say the Midwest. Because I mean, you saw with the La Nina, it's usually wetter in this region right here, but in the neutral, it's actually drier. So it's almost kind of like a flip-flop if you think about it. Also, the interior northeast is a bit drier, so any lake effect snowfall might be limited a little bit if it's drier in that region. Also, the northwest, Oregon and Northern California are usually drier according to this, but Washington is actually still wet, which is pretty weird. All right. So now we're going to take a look at the neutral, but except with temperatures this time. And this is what I thought I was showing first. So neutral with temperature, ENSO neutral with our temperatures December through March. As you can see, the worst spots for cold are the northeastern United States. So we're talking about well over, or well below, I should say, 2 degrees Fahrenheit below average, and that's for the December through March time frame. All right, pretty much the whole United States, so it's pretty cold. Even the central part of the United States is pretty cold, pretty moderate cold, and it's actually warmer in the northwestern United States, which is actually the complete opposite for La Nina. All right, so now we're going to focus on our weak and moderate La Nina. Now, how does this impact our precipitation? I mean, as you can see, I had data as recent as 2018, and I've also had data going back to 55. So, I mean, there's a lot of years. There's a lot of effort that goes into putting these maps together. Thank you to the NOAA for letting me produce these maps. Now, one thing to take note of with a weaker moderate La Nina is that we see actually a cool patch there, like I was mentioning earlier, in the Midwest and even parts of the Tennessee Valley, kind of like the opposite with neutral, right? It's a bit wetter. But look at this, the coastal Northeast, coastal Mid-Atlantic, the Southeast, especially the Gulf Coast actually, the Southern Plains, the Southwest, the Four Corners region, as well as the whole state of California are all actually pretty dry, or I should say at least below average. And some of the driest spots, which are more than 3 inches of precipitation below average, include the Gulf Coast, the state of Florida, and the state of California, which is horrible news. I mean, because California, like I said, had just been battered by the wildfires this year. And even though winter is typically a wetter time of the year, we don't want it to be drier. And we want rainfall to come in, but not too fast. We want gradual rainfall to come in for relief. But drier doesn't look too good for California. So California, if we go back here, I think you guys are definitely going to want to root for ENSO neutral as opposed to weaker moderate La Nina. Also notice the Northwest is like well over 3 inches above average. It's the complete opposite of California, which is over 3 inches below average usually, with a weaker moderate La Nina. All right, so the Northwest is also pretty wet, just like a typical La Nina in general. Now the temperatures with a weaker moderate La Nina, based on the data I've gathered, shows that the Northeast, as well as the extreme northern Mid-Atlantic, we're talking about the Midwest, the upper Midwest and northern plains, as well as the Northwest and even actually California, are actually slightly below average. Now, it's not too significant. I would actually say the northern plains is a bit more significant, maybe 2 or 3 Fahrenheit below average, as opposed to the rest of the country, like the Northeast or the West Coast, where it may only be ½ degree or 1 degree below average. But still, it's a bit more chilly, and the worst of the cold being in the northern plains, which you'll see reflected on my winter forecast. And also notice that the Southeast and Southern plains are actually a bit warmer, anywhere from ½ degree to 1 degree Fahrenheit above average. All right, so now we're going to get into my forecast. Now, I did flip it around a bit. Usually I show precipitation first, then temperature, but I decided to show temperature first this time because why not? All right, so we have made some tweaks here. All right, one thing you may notice, which I'll start with the cooler air first. One thing you might have noticed is I added another layer for the above average temperatures. I was a bit hesitant to put this on, and who knows, I may take that off in another update, but I'll explain why I put that on once we get to it. So, starting with slightly below average, okay? As the jet stream comes down, like I said, depending on how the sea surface temperatures interact with the jet stream could come down in this sort of region, and low pressure systems could track along that, and you'll see that reflected more on my precipitation map. Slightly below average for basically the northern half of the U.S., with the core of the cold being, again, like in a typical La Nina or even a neutral, all right, confined to the northern plains and the Northeast. I was actually almost tempted to put the moderate below average like up through the Northeast. And if we see increasing chances for an ENSO neutral, I would take this medium blue and extend it to the Northeast as well. But we're going to wait on that because we're still a little hesitant about our chances of going back to neutral by the end of the winter. But one thing I'm pretty sure about is definitely putting some of the well below average air in the northern plains, because whether it's ENSO neutral or La Nina, you guys are pretty much going to be cold up there anyway. The only way I could see it being different is if we had an El Nino, and we have basically 0.5% chance of that this winter. All right. Slightly above average, it's going to be found through the Four Corners region, the West Coast, as well as the Southern Plains, even parts of the Gulf Coast, if I didn't say that already. And then we got our moderately above average air for places like Vegas. We got Dallas, Cameron, Louisiana, where sadly they just got hit by Hurricane Delta. That sort of region in that moderately above average. And then, well, above average would be for like the desert regions in California and Arizona and New Mexico and like the Rio Grande in Texas. Now, think of this red area. Don't think of this area as like, oh, 25, 30 degrees above average. Think of this area as the best chance to see above average temperatures this winter. All right, like I said, we'll see if we can keep that layer added on, but I think there's pretty good confidence that we could have above average temperatures in that area. Again, depending on where that jet stream goes. If it's far north, then yes, we'll probably keep that layer there. But if the jet stream gets a bit farther south than it's supposed to, like say it's something like this, we may take the red layer off and just keep the orange layer. All right, so we'll see. But chances are that region will see above average temperatures. Now, precipitation. All right, precipitation is going to be slightly above average. Again, just like usual. Basically, the northern third of this country, the northwest, the northern plains, as well as the mid-Atlantic and northeast, including coastal locations of the mid-Atlantic and the northeast, slightly above average precipitation is possible. And then we got our moderately above average precip for the northwest coast, as well as maybe the Great Lakes, Midwest, and the interior northeast. The reason I extended to the interior northeast is because of potential lake effect snowfall, right? And that's our moderately above average precip. But still, anywhere shaded in green could see more precip. And if we have cooler temperatures combined with more precip, that's how you get snowfall. And speaking of snowfall, we do have our potential first named winter storm of the year, whether it could be coming in a few days or maybe even a week plus. Check that video out as that is my other upload for today. After watching this video, consider checking that one out. Pretty interesting. It's only October and we have our first potential named winter storm of the year, or at least our first Clipper system. Anyway, continuing on, we have our slightly below average air, or slightly below average precipitation for, say, the Four Corners, again, the southern plains, similar regions like I described to you with the warmer air. Southeast, and then more the southwest and south central could be feeling more of that moderate below average precipitation. Now, here's our snowfall map, and after this is the big overall map. All right, the big, I'll do the big drum roll for that, but we're not there yet. Anyway, so our snowfall forecast, basically snowfall anomalies is what I'm showing you. Slightly above average, anywhere that you pretty much saw that was below average temperatures and above average precipitation, that pretty much combines for, like I just said, above average snowfall. So again, slightly above average shaded in light blue, and then again, pretty much the Rockies, Northern Plains in a moderate blue because they were shaded in moderate green earlier, so we can kind of see how this works. And then we got the Great Lakes region, also above average. The lakes could be cranking. You'll see that in my overall forecast as well. The Great Lakes will be cranking this year, potentially. And then we have the slightly below average snowfall chances. Now, I know there's some people that ask, well, I live in Miami. I live in LA. It never snows here. Well, let's put it this way. If LA or Miami is shaded in this brown color, which it is, let's just say it reduces the chance of snowfall even more, right? Because technically, it has actually snowed in Florida, maybe not Miami, but it has snowed in Florida before in the central northern part of the state. All right, so Florida, maybe a chance for snowfall. If you're looking for snow in Florida this year, maybe might want to move north a little bit. And then we have our moderate, I know the color is very dark, but then we have our moderately below average snowfall, all right, for Texas, southern New Mexico, and southern Arizona. All right, now we have the big overall forecast. Drum roll, please. Let's get those drums rolling, and there we go. There we go. No, don't worry, I had the map prepared. All right, and there it is. This is our fourth winter forecast. You may saw part of this in the thumbnail, but obviously I don't want to show the key on the right-hand side of your screen because that would kind of ruin the whole thing, right? We got to keep mystery hanging in the air a little bit. But now we have our fourth winter forecast, and as I always do, I'm going to start from top to bottom of this graph, which basically goes from west to east of the United States. All right, so we are starting with cool and wet for the northwestern United States. Basically, I mean, that doesn't include the mountainous regions, but it's kind of like an overlap. So Northern California, Northern Nevada, we got Oregon, Washington, right? So if this location, like right here, shaded in dark blue, you're also shaded in the turquoise. Again, it's just an overlap. All right, so cool and wet for those locations there in the northwest, just like a typical La Niña. And that dark blue, which overlaps that, is basically heavy mountain snow for any mountain locations. Yes, this does also include the Sierra Nevada, but the Sierra Nevada is also in that warmer and drier area, so they may not get as much snow. I think the heavier mountain snow will be confined to more the northern Rockies. All right, and now we have our warmer and drier air, all right, which is in place for central Southern California, Nevada, Four Corners regions, actually the southern three corners, not kind of excluding Colorado here. Texas, Louisiana, and then parts of the southeast could be warmer and drier. All right. Now we have extreme Arctic blast indicated by the purple. All right, and we could see some pretty big cold shots. I mean, think about it. We could be seeing snow potentially next week, as I'll describe my other upload for today. We could be seeing snowfall as far south as Nebraska, Iowa, Chicago, maybe even in Illinois. And that's because temperatures are going to be diving down to the 20s in some spots as our overnight lows. All right, maybe even potentially on the lower end of the 20s as well. So that's going to increase our chances for snowfall, definitely, especially since that area is forecast to have above average precipitation as well. But as for this winter, we could see a polar vortex in place because if the Arctic stays warm, that cold air has got to go somewhere, and it could potentially be in this region. Then we just have our above average snow. I don't even know what you would call this color. It's kind of like a mix of indigo and blue. I couldn't really tell you, but it's like that dull kind of blue color for eastern Colorado, central western Kansas. We can see some above average snowfall this winter. Now, warm and wet. All right, so this is where it gets a kind of bit tricky because I could maybe even edit this. Because with an ENSO neutral, was it new? No, it was with a La Nina. With a La Nina, like I showed you, the Tennessee Valley is usually warm and wet. But with a neutral, the southeastern United States is more so warm and wet. So this could be moved around a bit. All right, but if we were to have an ENSO neutral, I think the southeast could be warm and wet towards the end of the year because we have better chances for neutral. But as for the earlier and most of the winter, it could be confined to this region. All right, so that's definitely debatable. Then we have our winter mix, our usual spot, our battle zone set up. The southern mid-Atlantic, Tennessee valleys here will be our winter battle zone. I think this actually could be shifted a bit farther south. All right, then we have our active Great Lakes, as usual, for our Great Lakes. Now, keep in mind, early and late, because that's when the Great Lakes ocean water temperatures are warmer. Because remember, we have to have cold air flowing above the warm sea surface temperatures to get that snow cranking really, really fast. All right, so earlier in the season, maybe like October, November, as well as maybe even late March and April, or maybe not April, but definitely late March. We could see some lake effect snows when we can see the most lake effect snow in this region, but it will be cranking. And then we have above average snowfall for the northern mid-Atlantic and northeast. We can see some potential coastal storms. All right, it happens, all right, during the winter time, and it's certainly possible for this winter. So thank you guys for watching today's video. Again, please consider checking out my other uploads for today. I am the Weather Dude, signing off till next time. Me and the minions wish you a good day tomorrow, and I will catch you guys in the next video.